Um, you led a lot of overseas tours, a lot of study abroad programs. Why were those important?
Because you can never know your own culture unless you compare it to another culture. You take everything for granted if you've lived in Waco, Texas all your life. Or for that matter, if you lived in Syracuse, New York. It's not the same. You can read about it, you can see movies about it, you can hear the radio about it, but it is not the same. When you go abroad, you encounter everything, and a great deal of it is very different, and you have to compare. It's all comparison. You say, Lyndon Johnson was a terrible president. Compared to what? Compared to whom? America is a rotten place. Compared to what? That idea is stupid. Compared to what? It's all a comparison. We live, it's like the world and the universe. It's all around you, and it's not just right here. I know that's a poor analogy. A story about a cat has kittens in an oven, doesn't make them biscuit. But at the same time, you must be able to compare. And the more you travel, the more it becomes obvious to you. The food, the drinks, the smells. The smells really get you. They're so different. I remember once being in Istanbul in 1969, I guess. Well, I took a small group to Egypt, came back to Istanbul, and smelling something that was unpleasant everywhere in Istanbul. And I thought, I'll never think of Istanbul without thinking about this smell. I guess it was coal, dirt. Just coal can have a good smell, but this didn't. It was like rancid coal. I'll never forget it. Anyway, it happens everywhere. I spent a year in China, exchange professorship, and you talk about culture shock, and you realize you have to see things differently from the way they see things. And you realize they've got a point. You've got a point. Now, where do we amalgamate the two? Unless you've been abroad, I've said it to students over and over, you will never understand it. And every last one of them, it seems, I'm exaggerating, forgive me, most of them, just overwhelmingly, have come back saying, that's the way it is. It's different. And I've got to live with it. But you get to know those people, and you just think, I couldn't go to war with these guys. My wife and I took a train ride I'll never forget from Beijing to Moscow, the Trans-Siberian Railway.
Mm-hmm.
And the experiences on that. My wife was invited down to tea by a group of women. And a little boy, Victor, spoke English. He'd picked up in his class. And he was the translator. And during the tea, these Russian ladies said, we must never, never, ever go to war with each other. We must have peace. And then the lady said something else to Victor, this little boy, and he said, for the children. When Betsy told me about that, I broke into tears. They've been through war. They don't, to know them, to talk with them, to see them, it gives you a feeling that you could never get by reading the newspaper or seeing it on TV. It says, let's work real hard for peace before some nut comes up and says, let's go destroy them or go to war. Before you get your son killed, before you lose your friend. But that's what foreign travel does. There's so many facets, so many layers that you feel good each time the program is over, because I drove my kids hard. I got them Eurail passes for Europe and Britrail for the British Isles, and I made sure they went everywhere, that they designed their own schedule. I showed them how initially. I took them to Paris, I took them to Amsterdam, I took them to Liège in Belgium, and I said, now, it's time for you to work these out. And I gave them all the material, but it got to be a joy just to watch them decide who wants to go with me to Austria. We want to ski. Who wants to go to Berlin, and Poland, Morocco, and to see those kids come back and talk about what they'd done, what they'd seen, experienced, that made everything worthwhile.